Hello, friends. We're on a journey to return to paradise. We're looking to see uh, if we can make life be truly fulfilling. And if you want to join us on this journey, once a month, first Friday of the month, I plan on uploading an episode to the YouTube channel. I encourage you to subscribe to the channel and click the notification button, and you'll be updated whenever a new video is uploaded. Anytime you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment, or you can go to our Facebook page, Return to Paradise. Just search Return to Paradise and follow the page, and you can message me anytime with questions that you have. The first video, we talked about how that our desires say something. All of us desire and crave something in life, and all our actions and life pursuits show that we want something, even if it's something basic and something simple. All of us desire something. And what we want to consider, because you might be seeking spirituality, but you just don't know where you want to land, or maybe you're a Christian and you just don't know if you've felt fulfilled yet as a Christian, or maybe you are mature in your faith and you feel fulfilled, but you're not sure how to communicate this to other people. So in that place, I'm looking for, what are these desires saying to me? And is Christianity a reasonable explanation to my life experiences? And I believe if Christianity is adequately explained, it fulfills, or it is what best explains our life experiences. So this desire that we have, where's the fulfillment of it? Where do we find the fulfillment for this desire? And as I said in the last episode, pretty much anything that you pursue in life does not give you lasting satisfaction. It might give you temporary satisfaction. It might even give you seasonal satisfaction, a lengthy time of satisfaction. But does anything in this life truly give you satisfaction that never goes away? When we pursue financial success, again, most people at some point, wealth isn't enough. When we pursue professional success, celebrity status, many people who've gained those things at some point discover that even that still does not make me be able to maintain constant satisfaction. Sexual pleasure, drugs and alcohol, those things you need to constantly go back to. And at times you still find yourself frustrated to not be able to get enough fulfillment. Relationship satisfaction, and all relationships at some point have friction and become difficult and challenging, and nothing in this life really gives us lasting satisfaction. And even if we were to find something that gave us some kind of satisfaction to some degree for some length of time, maybe even most of our lives, when we die, would that satisfaction continue if our lives are going to go on beyond the end of our earthly one? So if not, then are our desires for nothing? Are we just going to constantly try to find ourselves stuffing our pleasures and our desires, hoping that we find satisfaction? Or and it's just it's like we're in the hamster wheel. We're running after things that we're never going to catch. Or is there something to actually catch? Do our messages actually say, our desires actually say that there is something out there to have that is going to bring satisfaction to this? And I believe that that place is heaven. And this life, as much as there are a lot of great things in this life, there are a lot of good, enjoyable, fulfilling things in this life. But in the end, for the most part, this life is tragic. People die young. People get sick, people get cancer, people lose their jobs, divorces happen, alienation happens within relationships, parent-child relationships go bad, natural disasters, all kinds of things. This life is filled with misery. In the end, really, we're just kind of all waiting to die. I mean, you know that you're going to die. I know that I'm going to die. We know that everybody around us is going to die at some point. And that's all we're doing, is just waiting for the time to tick out. If this life is all there is, that's all that we're looking for, is how can I give myself enough pleasure and satisfaction in life so that I can get distracted by the reality that it's all meaningless and I'm going to die at some point and it'll never amount to anything unless There is something beyond this life. And I'm telling you, the Christian faith, the reality of Christianity, of the Bible, gives the most satisfactory, most reasonable answer to the longings that we have in our hearts. So what is this thing that we're searching for? I believe that it is the afterlife. It is heaven. It is, as Jesus called it, paradise. Now, there's some ins and outs to the nature of the afterlife, but these general terms are somewhat acceptable to use. Heaven, the new heavens and the new earth, paradise again, all of those things are terms to use for where a believer is going to be headed. Now, we'll get into who is a believer, who is not, and where a believer goes versus one that's not. But a believer goes to heaven, and it is God's intention that everybody goes to this place. Now, not that everybody will, but it is God's intention that everybody will go to this great place that is going to fulfill the longings of our hearts. And actually, I wanted to add to that, some of the things that we seek in life shows that we have not found meaning on the earth. There's this constant, desperate searching for something to be out there in space, for some kind of life to be out there, aliens to be out there. And I don't really have an opinion on whether or not there are, but just the quest to find that, the quest to start new civilizations on other planets. All these things are a demonstration that we feel like this earth is not getting it. It's not giving us the fulfillment that our hearts are craving. It's the reasons why we say at every single funeral gathering, most of us will say they are in a better place, because there's something within us that believes that that's true, that there's somewhere better than this earth. It's why Ecclesiastes 3 verse 11 says that God has set eternity in the hearts of men, because God has made us to want to be in this location that is a reality. It is why Jesus said to the thief on the cross who warmed up to Jesus that today you will be with me in paradise, because there is this longing for an actual place, heaven, and heaven's going to fulfill every one of the desires that you have. Matthew 25 verse 23, in the judgment parable, Jesus says, enter into the joy of the Lord. There will be pleasure. We will feel pleased and enjoyable in heaven. All the desire to have pleasure and satisfaction and joy is all wrapped up in this eternal dwelling place called heaven. Provision. Revelation chapter 22 describes a lot about the new heavens and the new earth, and it talks about how there'll be a tree or trees there that produce fruit for us, and so we will have lasting provision. No longer worrying about, do I have enough Social Security or retirement? Am I going to be able to keep my job? Am I going to be able to find insurance? No more worrying about keeping my house, my car, all of those things, and how am I going to make ends meet? Ends will meet for all eternity. There will be no concern, no question that I will always have everything that I need constantly. That'll be the reality that I will know. Isn't that what you long for? It's all wrapped up in this place that we call heaven, in this place that Jesus referred to as paradise. That's what Jesus wants us to get back to, is to this paradise that we lost when we, in the form of Adam and Eve, sinned and left the Garden of Eden. Revelation 21 and 22 talks about us being together with others, worshiping God and being with him and reigning with him for all eternity. There is so much meaning and significance that is in heaven. This fulfillment that we long to find a sense of purpose and meaning in this life is all the reason why we long for that. Though there is some temporary assignments to do in this life, ultimately those desires will find their fulfillment in heaven. That's where the fulfillment is. The desire for us to be loved and to love others and have those compatible, loving, give and take relationships. Revelation 22 describes being in that kind of place where we're with those who love us and we love them, and everybody belongs. And as much as we long to be in that kind of state in this life, the fulfillment of that is in this heaven, in this paradise. Revelation 21 and 22, the whole scene is a very peaceful and satisfying scene. And if we've desired to just be at peace, That's in heaven. That's what we're longing for, is to be in this eternity. Also, this destination helps us to escape the things that we want to get rid of. We want to escape death. There's so much in us that tries to find a way, as individuals as well as humanity as a whole, we're constantly looking for a way to prevent death from happening because we don't want to die. We want to continue to live. And Revelation 21 verse 4 says there will no longer be any death in heaven. We won't have to worry about that. There's no time limit. There's no loss of a loved one. We will live for all eternity. That longing to get away from death is fulfilled in heaven, in this, what Jesus refers to as a paradise. Also, pain. Again, in Revelation 21 verse 4 says, he will wipe away every tear from their eye. Neither shall there be any mourning or crying or pain. Not just physical pain, as much as we try. And that's the reason why some people turn to drugs. That's why we get prescription drugs. That's why we go to a doctor, a chiropractor, a masseuse. That's why we do all these things. We do stretches, we do exercises, we do nutrition. We try to do everything we can to stop the pain, the physical pain that our bodies experience. We're gonna be free from it in heaven. Everything we long for is wrapped up in this place. But not just physical pain, but emotional pain, that no more mourning or crying. The pain of being rejected, the pain of feeling insecure or not mattering, the pain of a broken relationship, the pain of the loss of a loved one, the pain of failure. All of that we long to be free from, to escape from, you will escape from forever in heaven. That's why Jesus refers to it as a paradise. It's a place that all our longings point into the direction of a place like that. You think about that, all your fantasies in the base sense of what you're truly longing for. Some of the details that you might fill out in your fantasies might be a little different than what heaven will be, but the base sense of what you're after, satisfaction, pleasure, delight, joy, peace, fulfillment, love, meaning, provisions, a lack of pain and discomfort, an end to death, all the things that you're longing for, all these things that you dream for, that you pursue, heaven absolutely fulfills all those things. That's why Jesus refers to it as a paradise. We want to get back to that location. The story of the Bible speaks of or points in the direction of us heading to this destination. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 8 through 12 refers to Abraham as having not looking for an earthly dwelling, but he was actually looking for a heavenly dwelling. He knew that the promised land of Israel was not simply a plot of land. He was looking for an eternal destination. He knew in his heart there was some place that was going to bring total fulfillment to all his desires and all his longings. There were others in Hebrews 11, verse 13 through 16 that are mentioned that were looking for this destination. There's something beyond earth. There's something beyond this life that is fulfilling and satisfying. And every one of us, deep down inside, know that that's the reality. Every one of us knows, if we pay attention and look at the way we pursue things, knows that we're after the fulfillment of this. We just might not fully agree with one another on what the destination is, but I'm telling you, heaven fits the description like no other thing, that this is the fulfillment of all these longings and all these things that we crave. 11 verse 13 in Hebrews says they were strangers and exiles on the earth. They knew that this was not their primary destination, that they were just kind of here temporarily, waiting to get to the real thing. This isn't the real thing. They were waiting to get to the real thing. Isaiah prophesied in Isaiah 65 verse 17 that there is going to be a new heaven and a new earth. John chapter 14, Jesus said that he is going to go ahead of us and prepare a place for us to dwell. Colossians chapter 3 verse 1 through 4, Paul talks about the need to keep our focus on this destination, to be heavenly minded. Philippians 3:20, same thing, to keep our focus on going to heaven. Because if you find yourself trying to find complete satisfaction in this life. We can find partial satisfaction, but if you find yourself trying to find complete, lasting, never interrupted satisfaction in this life, you will always be left longing, because this was not meant to be the fulfillment of your desires. Heaven, the place that Jesus refers to as paradise, that is the place where you will find the fulfillment of all your desires. And think about the effect that it has on this life. If you knew that 5 years from now you were going to be a multi-billionaire, but you were struggling to pay your bills now, but you knew for sure in 5 years from now you're going to be a multi-billionaire, you wouldn't be worried. You wouldn't be anxious. I mean, you might to some extent think, all right, I have to figure out how to make it through these next 5 years, but you wouldn't be scared. You wouldn't be afraid. You wouldn't be mad. You'd be thinking, oh, okay, I just got to make it through these 5 years, because you knew what was ahead of you. If we truly understood what was ahead of us, the paradise that is before us, that we're going to live in if we're following Jesus for all eternity, oh, the joy that that should give me, no matter what I'm facing in this life. Oh, the confidence that should give me in this life to face anything that comes my way. Oh, the peace and satisfaction that should bring to me in this life, just in the knowing of what is ahead. The love that should place in my heart, the sense of meaning and purpose that I should find, all of that should be found in realizing what I have ahead of me, this journey, this destination that I have before me. However, the concept of return to paradise is not just simply how do we get to that life, which, again, if you understand, and this is where some Christians struggle, if you understand that that eternal destination is where all God's promises are wrapped up in, then when you struggle and you face hardships and persecutions in this life, you don't lose hope, because God's not unfaithful, because he still has that place waiting for you. Some Christians think that God's going to make earth this bed of roses, this paradise, this place where nothing bad happens to me. And that's not really the reality of how God is letting earth play itself out. The reality is my destination is heaven. And if I understand that, then nothing's going to shake me in this life, because God's still faithful, even though someone died, even though I get sick, even though I lose a job, even though I have a relationship fracture. God is still faithfully preparing a place for me, and my hope is not wrapped up in this life. All the peace that brings, the confidence that should bring. But return to paradise is not just simply about getting to heaven. It's also about bringing heaven to earth. When Jesus came and John the Baptist came preaching, you can see it in Matthew chapter 3, verse 2 and chapter 4, verse 17. They came preaching that the kingdom of heaven is at hand, that it was actually present here, because Jesus, John the Baptist, both were going to represent heaven in this earth. In fact, in Matthew 6, verse 10, we were told to pray on earth as it is in heaven. We were to seek to make earth more and more like heaven. We will never actually get there until we get to heaven, but we're called to make this earth a little bit more like heaven. Matthew 18, verse 18, Jesus said that when you bind and loose, you bind and loose on earth as it is in heaven, that we're supposed to be bringing a form of heaven to this life. Matthew 5:14 says, you are the light of the world. We are to be the demonstration of what heaven is like. If someone experiences me, they should be experiencing what heaven is like. It's the reason why the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. It's the reason why the love character in 1 Corinthians 13 is as it is, because we are supposed to be behaving in such a way as if we already are on heaven and giving everyone around us a taste of this heaven. And yet, 2 Peter 3, verse 13 shows us that we're still waiting. Because while we're living this earthly life, we know we've not arrived at that destination yet. We know there's still going to be problems, flaws, struggles, temptations, but we're working to return to paradise. Will you join me? I think we can get there. I know we can. If we put our trust in Jesus, we can get to the ultimate paradise, but I think we can make earth a little bit more like paradise too. That's what this journey is about. I hope that you will join me on the journey. I hope that you will subscribe to the channel. I hope that you'll comment, like the video. Please watch all the videos on the playlist. This is the second video, and we'll add more. Join me on Facebook, and we'll continue to journey on how to make this earth better and how to fulfill the calling that I have, you have on your life. Next video, next month, we're going to talk about the dangers of a faulty perception and what we have to do to work on seeing things clearly, because there's many times that we think that we understand, but we don't actually understand, and we're blinded. And we want to know and understand that concept, that dynamic, and how to work against the dynamic of blindness so that we can actually come to embrace what is reality. So thank you so much for joining me on this journey. I hope that you will continue to join me as we work towards returning to paradise. Again, please comment, please let me know what you're thinking, what your thoughts are, what your questions are, and we'll continue to work to return to paradise. See you next time.